If you have a few 2x4s and the ambition to make some money, then this video is for you. Only spending 4 hours in your shop, building the same project 12 times, not only pays for the cheapest tools I could find on the internet, it puts enough money in your pocket to pay for the exact setup I have here today. That big boy miter saw, a drill, the drill bit, an orbital sander, sandpaper, that tool you shouldn't be scared to use, including batteries, and the router bit of your choice, plus 3 12-inch clamps. You'll also need some 2x4s, 2 thin dowels, glue, and spray paint. That brings us to $855.46 in the hole. We'll be above water before lunch. If you're frightened by routers, I suggest getting a palm router and doing some edge profiles as your first practice run. Here I am simply using a roundover bit that matches the 2x4. It's a little quicker than sanding all of the edges. Additional options include a cove bit or a chamfer bit. More about those coming up. At your miter saw, set your angle to 31.6 degrees. It's an easy number that locks into place. Cut the end of your board to that angle, flip it over, and make another cut at 8 inches. Do this one more time. Then cut 2 pieces using the same technique at 10 inches. Return your saw back to 90 degrees and cut 2 pieces at 8 inches and 4 pieces at 10 inches. Your second 2x4 receives that 31.6 degree starter, then cut 2 pieces at 11 inches long. Return the saw and board back to 90 degrees and cut 3 more pieces at 11 inches. After cutting brings us to glue up. You're just going to arrange your boards like so for the 8, 10, and 11 inch pieces, and it's going to follow the same steps that we kind of had for that last fall haul video. Put some glue, add a board, put some glue, add a board, put some glue, guess what? Add a board. You're going to just sandwich all those together. I like to lay them flat onto the workbench so that I know that they are all in line. Then I just eyeball getting these lined up. Take one of your clamps and tighten it on. You're done. As you're gluing these up, you might find that one of your boards is a little bit twisted or just not in line with the board next to it. And instead of just one clamp, you could add a clamp to the top and the bottom. And sometimes even after adding a second clamp, you still have that gap, and that's okay. It's just going to become the bottom. And then finish gluing your pieces together. I'm using Titebond 3 because it is a waterproof exterior glue, and these are probably going to end up being outside. You might have also noticed the lack of a stop block when I was using the miter saw. That's because I'm so freaking good at cutting pieces to the exact same length. Look at that. Woo! Aw man, we only bought 3 clamps. I'm going to borrow this one. To sand all of your chunky blocks, just run 120 grit in the orbital. Just run it over the top for this rough section. Gently kiss the sides, nothing too much. You can leave all of these spots. If you have those little circles from where you had the clamps, get rid of those. And then it never fears that every time there is something written on the side of a 2x4, it is always on the exterior of this project. The 3 hottest fall colors for insert year you're watching this video are rustic orange, claret wine, and ivory silk. Generally, I paint one size of the pumpkin in a specific color every time. The 6 count gets the orange, the 5 count gets the wine, and the 4 count gets the ivory. However, I do put a few different pumpkin sizes, projects, now they know what it is. Since these can be purchased individually, I like to have each size available in each available color. So if they say they want a small pumpkin in orange, I'm not hustling to try to get that done. So if they want to pick it up that night, spray paint's not going to be ready to be manhandled like that. A woodworker's arch enemy, the spray can. Really, any paint that covers the beauty of Mother Nature's finest works. You could use a natural stain instead of an ivory to keep the wooden aesthetic, but since it's an outside decor item, I'm sticking with spray paint. Your project's biggest obstacles are the sun's rays fading the paint and the rain penetrating the rotting wood. Generally, a non-pressure treated board is fine outside for 1 to 3 years if stored directly on the ground. 5 to 7 years if it's elevated on a porch or somewhere where water doesn't stay for very long. The sun will begin to fade the paint on these pumpkins, and they're about 44 months old if they're left outside 24/7. Ooh, just drink it in. This optional step is to distress all of your pumpkins. Just run some 80 grit sandpaper using that orbital around the outside, the edges, lightly hit the insides. I like to put them on top of a moving blanket or a towel, just so it's not scuffing up your work area. I've also found that having a sanding disc for each individual color is the only way to go. If you sand the wine, then you move on to sanding the ivory silk, it's going to look like a murder scene. Yeah, those are still wet. Then you're going to go outside and find yourself some nice sticks. If you find yourself a nice branch, you're going to have to cut it out of the tree, because that's the difference. Find yourself a nice stick, something that's probably no more than 1.25 1.5 inches in diameter. You can use some thinner pieces. This is actually perfect for everything that I'm going to need. You can remove the bark from your stick using a joint knife, a scraper, your pocket knife. Just put it against there and it makes a big old mess. And it's going to start taking the bark off. As you take the bark off, you might notice that there's bugs. It's been outside. They're going to burrow into here. I think it's a type of beetle. They like to eat just below the bark, and you're going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, yes, there are some things you need to be worried about bringing into the garage, because you could be opening these insects up to an entire buffet, but these guys, not so much. They mainly feast on wet, living organisms, so it does have to be remotely alive. You might find them in your firewood that's been outside for a long time, but once your material is kiln dried, or if you have construction lumber, you don't need to worry about them eating your entire garage. You're just going to take a hand saw and you're just going to cut these to different random lengths. No rhyme or reason, you kind of want them to be random. Once you have a few branch pieces, take a 1/4 inch Forstner bit and we're going to drill down in the center of our pumpkin about 3/4 inch. If you want to make this a little bit easier to do, Craig does make this drilling guide. It's $10. You can pick one up. But for what we're doing, we really don't need precision accuracy. You also need to make a matching hole into your stick. You're going to take a dot of glue, just put it inside that hole. Take your 1/4 inch dowel, make sure that sticker is at the top, so you always know how long it is. You're going to push them in, give them a little twirl. Then you're going to cut it off about 3/4 inch up. Add some glue to your stick hole. Don't really know what else to call it. Just a smidge too long. One more time. Some glue. Kind of like this one because I have that little branch at the top. Majority of you have put 1 and 3 together and knew that we were making a decorative set of pumpkins. And this would be a great time to pause the video, go get your significant other, because I'm going to show you all the options you have to build these pumpkins. And you don't have to rewatch this later when they go, that's cool, you should make that for us. In case you guys have wondered why it's a 30-degree angle instead of a 45-degree angle, this is why. 45 degrees, 30 degrees, it just gives you a more pumpkin-y shape than this guy. He just looks kind of square cut, and when you would get to like the 6 wide pumpkin, it just looks like a stop sign. These pumpkins are distressed, and these pumpkins are worry-free. I did not do that second sanding step after painting these. I did do that second sanding step, obviously, to these guys. Write it down. You can spray paint all 3 pumpkins in a set to be the same color, or you can mix and match. This one doesn't have to be ivory. This one doesn't have to be orange. It can be the wine color and orange. You can mix it up. It doesn't have to be what I'm showing you. You've got every option in the world. This set of pumpkins use that round over bit. It just mimics the profile that our 2x4 had originally. Kind of cleaned them up a little bit. This set of pumpkins, I accidentally did 2 of them in the wine color. Whoops. But I used a chamfer bit on these. Gives you a nice little V. Just a 45 on each board when you glue them up. Gives you that nice V look. Looks pretty cool once you've distressed them. And this set of pumpkins, I used a cove bit, and it gives you a nice little rounded cutout section when you glue 2 of them together. And again, when you distress them, it gives it a slightly different look per profile. So you can pick which one. You're already using the router around them anyway. Might as well kind of make them cool. $89.90 is the total cost to make 12 sets of these pumpkins. You'll end up with 36 total projects. Here in front of you, you'll see 7 completed sets. It took me about 2 hours, so 4 hours is 100% doable. If you wake up, you work until lunch, you'll have that many pumpkins, 12 completed sets. In the description is a complete pricing breakdown to how I got to those numbers if you would like more information. I sell the small pumpkin for $22, the medium pumpkin for $24, and the large pumpkin for $26. They want to buy them as a set. It's not a set discount. There's no bulk discount. You're just buying one completed set. $72 is what that will run. 72 times 12, $864. Now, what if you don't think that's an astronomical price that someone would actually pay for these items? That's okay. You need to re-review your area's demographic and the clientele that you're selling for and what you value your work at. So if you don't want to sell them for what I'm selling them for, that's okay. You can also sell them for $60 each. You'd still bring home $720 minus that $89.90, $630.10 in your pocket. Or if you sold the set for $40 each, you'd have $480, $89.90 off of that, $390.10 for 4 hours worth of work and not much wear and tear on your blades or any of your equipment. It's a pretty safe bet. Where do I sell these? Mainly Facebook Marketplace. I have 2 active listings. They're both different pictures, and I delete them every Saturday, re-upload them so it's fresh. It's at the top of the page for everybody for the weekend. People come by, they just pick them up. I can leave them outside, put their name on the little tag, done and done. Additionally, if you take them to craft shows, they sell very well. Not a ton of people really do that, so that's not you. Facebook Marketplace is your go-to. I do not ship them. I don't list them on Etsy or any other online selling sites. It's just with the cost of gas, it's outrageous to ship things right now. So mainly that is higher dollar items that I ship out from Etsy. These, they're not making the cut. Something else I've actively done in the past that actually one ends today, they drew the drawing today, is you just take a set of them to like a bank or to just any local place. You say, these are for you, raffle them off to your customers, and then you just have your name, information if they want to just buy a set instead, and have some cards out so, you know, they can write their name down and say, hey, if you don't win, you can still buy a set. They'll take that home. If they don't win in the raffle today, it'll probably land you 8, 9, 10 orders just right there because you raffled one off. It also gets your name out and about in the community. Why I made a sample of this one, I don't know, because there's 7 other ones behind me. I could have just used a pumpkin, but this is what it would look like. I used some scrap, threw them together.